You speak from heaven, we call it thunder. You are amazing. You smile from heaven, we call it rainbow. You are amazing. And you look from heaven, we call it sunshine. That's amazing. And you made me in your likeness, super amazing. You are amazing, God.
I really want to thank Pastor Dr. Onubanjo for making this happen. I'm listening here. I'm sitting there, just listening to all that has been said. Thank you very much, Reverend Akem. I took a lot from what you said. I think that is a very good practice, the 3 Bs, that should be emulated by as many ministries and churches as exists, really. If we do that, that will go a long way to helping people. I was asked to talk more on brain tumors. I have some slides. Maybe I'll just, in order to keep to time, maybe better for me to use them. I've given this talk in various forms at various fora, and it's not just specific to the brain, but it's just the idea, and I think that's an idea that's resonating throughout all that has been said, is that we need to have a common sense guide to how to live healthily. Not just think. The example I give is that I have, as a believer, I can go to the next slide, please. So I have no disclosures other than I am also a Christian, like all of us here, and I've been one for even longer than I've been a medical doctor. It's I know I can understand the conflict sometimes. How do I walk in 3 John 2 and all of that compared to? But the example I give people is that when your car breaks down, how many of you don't go to the mechanic? Or when you have a noise in your car, when you start the car in the morning and it starts doing you go to the mechanic. So the same knowledge God has given to the medical practitioners to help to find out what is making that noise, or what is causing the lump, or causing the warning sign and everything. There's a short video there, but I don't think we'll be able to play it. It was a minister just appealing to people not to die. And the idea was that don't ignore the things that are going on in your body, and don't die before your time, because when you do, unfortunately or fortunately, life goes on. Life goes on. As painful as anybody's death is, the truth of the matter is that life goes on. That's the truth of the matter. And so the best thing you can do for yourself is to look after yourself and trust God, so that you can live a long life. So I think it's been said also that you need to see health as an investment. Some of us are young, some of us are not so young, but the best time to start on your health work is just like any investment, is when you are younger, and then even as you go older, continue to see it as an investment, because you're going to need it down the road. And the good thing is that most health threats are preventable at a large extent. By the time you've gone past the first 5 years of life, the other things that cause death and cause things are largely preventable. We go to the next slide. That just shows a list of the top deadly health conditions, both in male and in females. Most of those things there are things that can be done to reduce the risk, the likelihood that it will happen. And like has been said, even when it happens, if you catch it early, then the survival rates are much higher. I'm going to focus on the ones that are more on my own line, and I trust that other people will talk about other things. Let's go on, please. I put this slide for hypertension. I don't know if Dr. Omezidike is going to speak about it, but just to mention it because it crosses over with the brain. The heart and the brain work together. And hypertension is a major problem with black people, and with black men in particular. And most people think that, if my blood is high, I will know. The truth of the matter is, it is silent most of the time. By the time you are aware that your blood pressure is high, you are waiting too late. And the complications are as listed, stroke being one of them. Let's go on. So this slide just to tell us what the normal blood pressure categories are. I think there will be some screening done, so you can check what is your level and work towards achieving a higher level. Next slide, please. Like I said, most people don't know that they have hypertension, and 1 in 4. So if you counted, if there are 40 men here or 50, 1 in 4 are likely to have elevated blood pressure, depending on the age grade. Yeah. Let's go on. I want to talk a little bit about strokes because, like I said, it can be in this part of the world. Strokes are a big problem, and becoming increasingly so, because many people have untreated high blood pressures, and the kind of strokes we have in our environment are usually from untreated blood pressure, and then so the vessel bursts, for want of a better word, and then bleeds into the brain. There's another type of stroke that comes from when there is not enough blood flowing to the part. That also happens, usually in a bit older people. But it's important when and if a stroke occurs to know what to do and to act quickly. So the signs of stroke, we talked about numbness, weakness, confusion, trouble seeing in one or both eyes, sometimes difficulty walking. So the person develops unexplained weakness of the arm or the leg, or problems balancing, and or a very severe headache with no known cause. You have to think maybe that person may be having a stroke. The next slide gives us a bit of an acronym, FAST. So when we're thinking about stroke, we're thinking about the face drooping. So if the face suddenly droops, you have to, there's numbness or weakness of one side of the face. If there's weakness of the arm or weakness of the leg, if there's speech difficulty doesn't always happen. So this is not as if all of them must be there, but any of them that you find, then the T there for fast is to emphasize the importance of time. Time is so much of essence. Recently, a colleague of ours who is into interventional radiology talks about how somebody developed a stroke, and then they were able to go and remove the clot that was blocking the supply of blood to the brain, and then the person was able to recover life, and then over time recover the function and the use of that limb. That's only because they got there in time. So we are talking about hours, not even days. Sometimes in practice, somebody says they had a stroke 3 days ago. Have they even done a scan? They have not done a scan. We haven't, the plane has left. It's like when you go. I don't know if you've ever been to the airport and missed your flight before. It's not like you missed the bus. If you miss the bus, you just, especially in Lagos, you just stay by the road and you wave down another bus. When you miss your flight, Otilo, it's gone. You just carry your load, you go back home. As painful as it is. So time is really of essence, especially for ischemic strokes, but even for hemorrhagic strokes. So when you have fast, so you have to think about fast. If you think of face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, think person may have a stroke. What do I need to do? Get the person to the hospital so that they can do the necessary tests, scans of the brain to confirm, and then intervene as much as possible. So that's really, really important, because we see more and more people, and even more and more people, younger people. Recently, we had a patient. The patient was in his mid-30s. And he had a really bad stroke, and because of the severity, it sometimes, even with all the interventions, we may not be able to reverse the course because it's so bad. So please, it's important checking one's blood pressure. And like has been said, if you've been diagnosed with elevated blood pressure, it's not a crime, it's not a sin. Just use your medication. Use your medication, do other things. When the blood pressure comes down, is normal, then we'll celebrate with you. Nobody is into it for a long time, but it's important. Most people, when we ask this young man, We're not asked him because he was unconscious. When we asked his relatives, he said, well, they said he was hypertensive. Does he use his drugs? Well, sometimes when he has a headache. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to use the medication regularly, all the time, regularly, and then check your blood pressure. No, it's not. It seems funny until it affects somebody, and then it really goes bad from there. So I just want to leave this there for the time concerning stroke. Time is of essence. We are not talking about days. You don't have days. You don't have weeks. You have minutes, hours. Time is of essence. And there are even drugs that we can use, but again, we can only use those drugs within a time frame. There's a drug that if you use it within the first 6 hours, it can completely reverse the effects of stroke. Some people try to bring it into the country and then they stopped because nobody was presenting within the first 6 hours. So they just had the drug expired in their hand, so they didn't bring it. These are expensive drugs. So we're talking about hours, minutes and hours, not days when it comes to stroke. Next slide. Professor Oluwadara has spoken a bit about cancer. I just want to talk a little bit about the one that affects the brain. But just to say that a wide and diverse group of diseases, and then there are some of the risk factors that are what we call modifiable. There are things you can do about your lifestyle, like smoking, diet. Reverend Akiemi spoke a bit about diet. That's very important. I like that illustration about prevention. Prevention is much better upstream care rather than downstream. Infections, alcohol. Then there are some non-modifiable risk factors, and that's why in this part of the world sometimes it's not good that we do not know our medical history. When you ask people, like, does anybody in your family have? They say no, nobody in our family has ever had anything. In fact, if you believe people, nobody in their family has ever been to the hospital. But we know that that's not true. So there are some genetic factors, so history of breast cancer in the family says something about the risk for the subsequent generation. So it's important. Let's go on, please. The next slide. Because I want to say something about brain tumors. Yeah, so brain tumors, not so common, but not so uncommon. So I'm going to just give an illustration. So recently, we had a patient, and she had so these are the most common symptoms. The first, headaches and seizures are the most common symptoms that people that have brain tumors will present with. Now, when I say that everybody has headaches, yes, but it's not the regular headache. It's not the headache of I've had a long day and I'm tired, I sleep and it goes. No. This is a persistent headache that has been on and is refusing to go. It's persistent. And again, it's not like a migraine headache, but if you have severe headache, like when I was younger, they used to advertise Panadol and say that if symptoms persist after 3 days, you need to so if you had a long day in traffic, you have a headache, sleep, wake up, you'll be fine. But if your symptoms are persisting, you need to do something about it. So recently, I had a woman show up, and she had been having seizures. Seizures are convulsions. Seizures for 20 years. She had been having seizures for 20 years, according to them. So probably it's even longer. You know how it is. By the time they agree to 20 years, it's probably 25 or 30. Now, what made the difference is that her daughter is now a doctor. Her daughter was one of our doctors, one of our house officers, and she knew her mother. Growing up, her mother used to have seizures, but she was now a doctor, and she's now, like I said, she just finished, and then she went home, and the mother's having seizures, and okay, let's even go and see. So she brought the mom to the hospital, to Luth, and the moment she brought the mom to Luth on a Thursday, the neurologist saw and said, go and do a brain scan. I don't have the image here. Go and do a brain scan. That's Thursday. Then they go home and they don't really do the brain scan. Then over the weekend, so the daughter calls the house. The father says, hey, your mommy is somehow sha. So she goes there. I think on Sunday, and then sees the mom. By this time, mother has had another seizure, and this time she's not really talking. She's quite unconscious. So she brings the mom to Luth on Monday. So meanwhile, she's been convulsing for 20 years. So Monday they come to Louth. They don't do the scan, maybe because of financial reasons, I'm not sure. They do the scan on Wednesday. It's been a long time since I saw a tumor in the brain that large. It's been a long time. But so Wednesday, this is from, so within a week, in fact, it would have been less than a week, we had the diagnosis, and she had been having seizures for 20 years. And in this part of the world, many times people think of seizures, talking about spiritual attack, all sorts of things. But the thing about convulsions is that the Christians have their explanation for it. The traditional people have their traditional. Everybody has their explanation for seizures. But the truth is that so she had a tumor in her brain. Fortunately, and that's the good thing about some categories of brain tumors, that they grow slowly, and this one, although it had grown quite large, we were able to do something about it. But it affected her recovery, because she ended up staying in the hospital for weeks, really, just to recover from that. Meanwhile, this is something that if it had come much earlier, maybe you'll have stayed maybe a few days, a week maximum, and then will have gone home. But the good news is that she's better now. She's gone home. But if her daughter had not been a doctor and had not insisted, let's do this scan, I don't know what will have happened to her eventually. So they are not so common, but they are also not so uncommon. I mean, this year alone we must have done we usually do about 2 to 3 a month, so maybe about 15 to 20 this year alone. That's in our own practice in Louth. So they are not so uncommon. So it's something to think about. Vision problems, I will mention that as well, because many people come, and by the time they come, they can't see again. In fact, another story. Every week, I don't know, Professor Loda, every week in clinic is a story. Because this last week, I saw another young man. He's 21. He can't see in his eyes. He can't see in one eye at all. In the other eye, he can only see. I was sitting across him. I said, "Can you see me?" He says he knows I'm there, but he can't really see me. And he's 21. And he's a student. So I said, "How are you doing your exams?" He said, "Well, it wasn't so bad until just a few months ago." But the problem is that when it gets so bad, even when you do anything, the recovery becomes a challenge. So vision problems, it's important. Don't just keep changing your glasses. See the specialist, do the necessary tests, and God will help us. Next slide. I'm exceeded my time already. So just some of the things that people have said before, and they are not true. You will not, when your blood pressure is high, you don't know. Don't tell yourself you don't know. The only way you know is if you check it. If you check it is when you know. So many other things that then people think ignorance. I think the issue of ignorance has already been dealt with significantly here. What you don't know will hurt you when it comes to that. Next slide. Next slide. I think I have one more slide. Yeah. Well, so things to avoid in conclusion. I will stop there. Questions. Thank you.